We've been hooning this thing around in the daytime, but how does it behave in low light? Let's give it a full test. Hi, I'm Ash from DroningON, and if you want to see lots of new tests with the DJI FPV drone, then hit that subscribe button below. Anyway, so far we've seen lots of daytime footage with this new drone from DJI, but we're struggling to find any at night or in low light to see how this camera behaves. I was really curious, and so I took it out tonight just as the sun had set to see how it would get on. If you want to buy one of these, there's links to it in the video description below. In the meantime, enjoy the video. Oh, I love that sound. Okay, so it's 7 o'clock in the evening here in Sweden. It's rather chilly, my fingers are freezing, but we're going to give this a little bit of a try. As you can see at the moment, I've got everything set to auto on this drone. We're in normal mode as well. So we've got 26 satellites, 98% battery. Let's take off. Motor's starting up, and here we go. And we're off the ground. Now, it does say ambient light too low, obstacle avoidance. I'm suspecting that's going to tell us that the obstacle avoidance is not going to work. Now, remember, obstacle avoidance is optical, and that means that if you're flying in low light, it's actually not going to be able to see. So that's a really, really important factor, especially when you're flying at night if you don't know the area. Now, I know here that we don't have any high altitude objects that are going to be a problem for us. So in that respect, you know, I can fly this very safely because I know that I'm not going to be hitting anything. But don't fly at night if you don't know the area, because it will just result in problems. In terms of visibility, through the goggles I can see everything. I mean, it's a little bit dark. The ground is a bit of a problem. I think this drone actually needs HDR. That would be lovely, because at the moment I can see most of the sky and not actually a lot of the ground. But then again, it is 7 o'clock, it is pretty dark. We're in normal mode at the moment. If I turn towards the sea, look at that. It looks beautiful, doesn't it? Really, really, really nice. So let's turn around back towards us. I do have a spotter, by the way, sat on top here, out of view. You're right up there? Okay. But I mean, look at this, it looks beautiful, doesn't it? Should we see if we can go under the bridge? Now, also be very, very careful if you're flying at night near water, because it can be very, very deceiving in terms of the altitude. Oh, now I'm gonna go a little bit lower. Okay, here we go. I might have to go for a swim if this goes wrong. There we go, beautiful. Now the obstacle avoidance did actually give us a bit of a warning at that point. Look at this lovely big bridge here. Let's get a look at this. It's beautiful, isn't it? Absolutely beautiful. It's a lovely time to fly. There's no wind, nobody around, and it is just beautiful. I love the dynamic home point that you see through the goggles here. Let's go into sports mode. Why not? Okay, so now we're in sports mode. Sounds so much nicer when you go into sports mode. Look at this, isn't it beautiful? Look at that beautiful coastline. Again, be really careful of trees. You have to know the area before you fly. Really important. Take a lovely sweeping view of this beautiful jetty here. Just beautiful. Again, be very, very, very careful if you are flying at night near water, because it can be very deceiving as to how close you are to it. It'll be very interesting to see how the video looks, because the Osmo Action is not very good in terms of night darkness, although it has HDR. You can see flight time, 96% battery on our goggles, 62 on the quad, and we've been flying for just 3.5 minutes. Not particularly long time, and we're already almost at half battery. So I know here there are some tall trees. We are going to be avoiding those, that's for sure. But so at this point now, vision of the ground is starting to become much, much harder. It is getting darker. And for that reason, the contrast in the ground is completely blown. Now I'm flying completely in auto mode visually. Of course, you could adjust the brightness and the contrast here to make things a bit better. But I'm putting everything on auto to show what this is looking like from the perspective of your average operator of this drone. Because not everyone wants to tweak with brightness and things. Another tip as well, of course, is remove any ND filters before you fly at night, because they are going to be a big problem if you're flying at night. This jetty here is beautiful. 49% battery. I think it's good to show you guys a full flight like this because it gives you a better idea of the battery life, of course. Let's get a bit of altitude. It'll be interesting to see, look at that lovely telecom tower there, and the moon. It'll be very interesting to see how well or how badly it's capturing those lights of the town there. In terms of sound as well, I mean, we're flying at night, there's not a single bit of noise here. But it's actually fairly quiet. Now you notice the horizon is tilted here. In the options of this drone, you can turn on horizon leveling, which I didn't notice it had before. So you could actually have it horizon leveling, but remember, if you do that, it's going to pan the image in, crop it in. That means losing resolution, and especially when you're flying at night, even worse is the fact that you're going to then get an even more grainy, blurry image. So not necessarily a good idea to be doing that. Getting a bit later now, so it's getting much, much darker, but look at this, isn't it beautiful? Really, really beautiful. So we are 1 minute 53 left. We're almost at 25% when it will start its automatic return to home. We've been flying for 6 minutes, not a particularly long time, but I'm going to bring it home anyway because I don't want return to home to invoke. Never fly the drone down to its flat battery. Always bring it back before it's completely flat. And at this point, I'm actually going to turn my goggles off and bring it in manually. Now, what's really, really cool about this as well is it's got a landing light. So the big LED, as you come in lower, it actually detects the ground and it turns the light on automatically, which is really cool. And that way it can see the ground better, the obstacle avoidance underneath can work better. And then as it touches down, it turns the light off automatically. And there we go. You probably can't see me, that's how dark it is. So there we go with the low light night test with the DJI FPV drone, and it didn't do too badly, but as expected, having a chance now to review the footage, it's grainy, it's full of high ISO, and just like the Osmo Action, it doesn't really cater very well for low light. But remember, this is not a 1-inch sensor like the Mavic 2 Pro. It's a small sensor, and this drone really isn't designed for flying at night, hence why the obstacle avoidance falls over as well. But there are a few good tips. Firstly, if you decrease your frame rate, you're going to get more light, and therefore if you are going to be flying in low light, decrease the frame rate accordingly. Regarding flight time as well, although it felt like we were flying quite subtly and subdued, we were in sports mode, and actually you'll have heard the drone in most of that video that you've just watched, and you probably could hear it screaming, and when it's screaming, it's draining battery. So just a tip, listen out for the drone and don't get too sucked into what you're seeing through the goggles, because although you may think you're flying calmly, you're probably not, and that's why you're draining the battery quickly. Remember to always remove all ND filters before you fly at night or in low light as well, because ND filters are simply going to make low light even lower light. So that will of course degrade your image quality even more so. Another tip is to turn off horizon leveling electronically in the software if you've enabled it. The reason is having that enabled will crop that footage in closer, and therefore you'll end up with lower resolution and even worse video footage. But you know what? The key thing is here, I enjoyed it, and looking through the goggles, even in low light, the video quality and the image looks great, and it's all about fun. Not every single drone flight has to be about capturing that cinematic sequence. Ultimately, if you end the flight with a smile, it's been a good one. If you want to see loads more content with this drone, then hit that subscribe button below. And also, if you're not yet a member of the DroningON Club, hit the join button below, because all of the raw footage straight from the SD card of the drone and the goggles will be uploaded to the members area immediately after this video. You can then download it, take a look at the direct footage from the SD card and play with it yourself before deciding whether or not you want to buy this product. Comment below with your thoughts about this video and how do you think this drone did? Give the video a thumbs up or a thumbs down if your own obstacle avoidance doesn't work at night. And of course, hit that subscribe button. Thanks very much for watching.